The heroic Little Miss Encore. The brave knight with a tragic past, adventuring across the land in search of adventure and new friends, saving the day from bad guys and creating happy memories along the way. This is the epic of the consultant from the Black Shores, our dear little Encore. The theater. Encore's home and the prelude to her great adventure. In this theater, her mother would grace the stage as the Black Woolly Knight, saving the white woolly princess from the villain and living happily ever after. It was Encore's favorite show because the Black Woolly Knight reminded her of how her mother took care of her and made Encore feel even safer, knowing her mother was there to protect her. And through it all, since before Encore could remember, Cloudy and Cosmos were by her side, keeping her company and helping to take care of Encore. And in those early days, though she would never tell Cosmos, she was more fond of Cloudy, the cute and innocent Woolly that reminded Encore of herself. Cloudy what was Encore wanted to be, a gentle and beautiful princess, living peacefully inside of a giant comfy castle, while the Black Knight keeps the castle safe from the outside. After all, what princess would need to leave her castle? Outside the castle was the Black Knight's battlefield. And so Encore spent her days with Cloudy, Cosmos, and her mother, back when Cloudy and Cosmos were just plushies, and her mother was the great Black Woolly Knight. Until, one day, Encore learned of the bad guys that had invaded the theater and had turned her mother into a big bad cat. Of course, Encore had to save her mother, and so Encore engaged in battle with the villains, defeating them and saving all of her friends, but destroying the theater in the process. But what happened to Encore's mother? Well, as the big bad cat writhed and struggled in the burning rubble of the theater, Encore came to comfort the cat. Encore sang the same lullaby that her mother had sang to her so many times, and until the flames fell to nothing, until sunlight rose over the landscape and warmed Encore's hands, until Encore's voice became hoarse, Encore sang to the cat. And finally, the cat's blessing disappeared into the misty forest, and it was reverted to a small kitten, her mother facing salvation in death. At her mother's funeral was the first time Encore heard Cosmos and Cloudy speak. They were quiet at first, but quickly became restless. Luckily, no one but Encore had noticed their sudden speech, as they called for Encore to return to the theater. And so, much to the chagrin of her relatives waiting nearby, Encore ran to the theater just in time to catch her mother's final appearance on the stage. It was too much for Encore. Encore stumbled towards the stage, reaching for her mother, but was pulled into darkness, signaling the end of the show. Her mother was gone, and the show was over. Darkness, sadness, and fear all came rushing in, trapping poor Encore in an endless nightmare. But as all hope was lost, Encore heard two familiar voices calling out to her. "Encore! Encore!" came the cries of Cloudy and Cosmos, shouting the only word that could restart the show. And Encore joined them, shouting for an encore to bring back the show she loved so dearly. And of course, when called for an encore, the show must go on. The curtains raised, light flooding the theater, and little Encore standing on the stage is the new leading role for this story. Tears washed away her sadness and fear, and she broke into a bright smile. Encore was now the brave Woolly Knight, beginning a new adventure that she would ensure has a happy ending. In the New Federation can be found the burnt-down ruins of an orphanage. Among all of the other children in this orphanage lived a small girl named Encore, who dearly loved the director of the orphanage, fondly referred to by the children as Director Mama. Director Mama would put on puppet shows for the children using two woolly puppets, one black and one white, telling stories of adventure, of knight-saving princesses, and defeating great villains. And this orphanage acted as a front for a criminal group, of which the director of this orphanage was either the ringleader or a significant contributor. And one day, a young resonator with dreams of heroism discovered the illegal activities of the director and her associates and burned the orphanage to the ground. And as the orphanage burned, and the director burned, writhing in the flames of the orphanage, crushed by the weight of the building, she saw the source of these vicious flames, a small, pink-haired girl by the name of Encore. The director expected resentment and disgust from the small child that had foiled her plans. Yet little Encore felt no hatred or malice towards the director. The director had acted as her mother for so many years, and had been so kind to her. How could Encore hate her? Little Encore approached her bloodied, burned, and dying mother, and wrapped her small arms around her, resting her little head on the director's body. The only thing little Encore could offer was sadness and comfort for a dying woman. And so little Encore sang to the dying woman, offering her some slice of peace at the end, despite her numerous atrocities that no one would ever forgive her for. No one, save little orphan Encore. Sometime later, little Encore would be approached by Alto at the hospital where Encore was being cared for. The Cutest system had decided Encore would be instrumental in achieving the goals of Blackshore, and Alto was there to recruit her. And so, the man that resembled a gentle gray wolf in Encore's eyes would make her an offer. Come with him on an adventure to save the world. Encore is the quintessential example of the cute but destructive archetype. She bounces and bobs and weaves like a hyperactive child, and she has large, soft features to accentuate her cute aspects. When she fights, she jumps and spins while laughing as if she's doing nothing more than playing with her woolies. Then we contrast that to her ultimate. Her features harden and shift, helping to make her look more mischievous. They flip her eyebrows, and the soft wool-like tips on her head transform into sharp, dark-colored horns, and her movements in combat become much quicker, more violent, and noticeably more powerful. Conceptually, I'd say she's a distinct cross between Annie from League of Legends and Arthur Boyle from Fire Force. She utilizes her imagination and frames the world through the lens of a storybook in order to help her cope with feelings of loneliness. Cloudy and Cosmos further pushed that idea. She had some measure of power available to her even before Cloudy and Cosmos began to speak to her, in voices resembling her own, mind you, and they only awoke once she felt truly alone after the death of her mother. Functionally, the Woolies are just puppets. No one else can hear them talk, and for most others, they only serve as a visual indicator of Encore's forte. More directly, Encore has a very simple design. She's made to loosely resemble a lamb. Her wool-like hair spots, the messy and fluffy hair otherwise, and even the way her dress and sleeves poof out slightly to help preserve that fluffy, sheep-like visual. And then her design doubles down on making her look like a very girly little girl. She's covered in bows from head to toe. She has those hair ties that it seems like every single girl back in elementary school had, those giant rounded orbs that don't look like anything in particular, but they're so large and provide such a shock of color that they stand out, even if they look a little odd. She has that funny mini purse that kids love carrying around because it makes them feel like a real adult. She really feels like an honest-to-goodness 9-year-old. Color-wise, she has a primarily pink and white palette, which helps to push the visual of a cute, innocent child. Those are accompanied by injections of black throughout the outfit, both to act as a contrast to the lighter pinks and whites, and to represent the aspect of herself represented by Cosmos, just as the white in her design represents the part of herself expressed by Cloudy. The entire outfit is pulled together by the gold accents, providing a nice pop throughout her outfit to help prevent it from feeling flat. For my personal thoughts, I kind of just have to say, isn't she just the cutest? Like, you just want to give her a little pat on the head, wrap her in a blanket, and tell her that everything is going to be okay. I have a certain weakness for the color pink, and as soon as I saw her trailer, with her acting as the hero in a stage play, and all the bright colors, I knew she was the first 5-star I wanted. I ended up getting Ling Yang first, which is fine, he's fun, but I chose Encore for my select banner. She's a character with a particularly sad story, often having nightmares relying on Cloudy and Cosmos to be there for her because the person most important to her is gone. She's a child, feeling alone and afraid in a world that hasn't been kind to her and has exposed her to tragedy a child should never have to face. She really just needs to be protected, but the world has forced her to become dangerously efficient at protecting herself, emotionally and physically. She's just a cute little puffball that needs a hug. Moving forward, I'm not expecting them to do much with Encore. She's still a child, despite her skill with violence, and because of that, I'm not sure she can offer much more to the plot. Unless we experience some kind of time skip, which won't be for a while even if we do, there isn't much that she can do outside of her regular participation in the Black Shore's activities. I don't expect her to be particularly plot relevant anytime soon. I haven't played Punishing Grey Raven outside of the tutorial many years ago, but looking at a character list, it seems like there is at least a precedent for Kuro games repeating characters in different forms. So it's not impossible that we might see another version of Encore in the future. I would be really interested in finding out how her powers develop and advance as she gets older, and I would be particularly interested in how she ends up learning to process her emotions as she gets older. Will she remain largely dependent on Cloudy and Cosmos, or will she no longer need them as an emotional crutch? How would her worldview change over time? All very fun questions, but unless Kuro begins to establish a pattern of repeat characters in Wuthering Waves, I wouldn't expect to see much more of Encore. Thank you very much for watching the video to this point. If you liked the video, please leave a like, and if you're interested in seeing more videos like this, consider subscribing to the channel. How are you liking Wuthering Waves so far? I've put in an ungodly amount of time so far, and I'm eagerly awaiting the race of Changli and Camellia. All this asterite's burning a hole through my pocket, and I really need a banner to pull on. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.